Laurent Saclair. In one of your recent Q&As, you mentioned how strictly Sea Org members are taught how to clean. As I was cleaning my home, I thought of how triggering it might be for an ex-Sea Org member to do things as banal as cleaning. Was that the case for you? Or were there any other everyday life things that were actually hard for you to do or even triggering you after you left? Hey, thanks for the question. I'll treat this one a little lightly because, it's a cleaning. Actually, I'm kind of big on cleaning. I like cleaning. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily tell from here, but my wife is someone who has definitely commented that I am a cleaner, and I learned it, of course, in the Sea Org, and I resisted it. I was not growing up. I was not a natural cleaner buff, germaphobe, anything like that. I was a messy kid, and my room was never really particularly well. I would go back and forth. I was a little bipolar on it, actually, but I wasn't really big on cleaning. It was always something that had to be enforced. In the Sea Org, it's enforced so often, so heavily on a daily basis that it just becomes habit. Kind of like the military, when in terms of how ex-military will make their beds and stuff, I think. You'll find, I believe you'll find a whole lot of them will have pretty neat beds for quite a while after they come out, because it's just muscle memory and habit. Excuse me. And that's how I am, but not at all. I mean, my apartment right now is not at Sea Org cleaning standards. I would fail any white glove examination. So it's not like I'm still operating at the same level as I was when I was in the Sea Org as far as cleaning goes. I'm only going on about this because it's not, a trigger thing for me at all. As far as cleaning goes, I think sanitation is important. So in a way, it's one of the sort of, all the cleaning kind of balanced out my disorganization and messiness for me personally. Now, that all being said, yes, in a more general sense, that kind of thing can absolutely be triggering for people. And rather than cleaning, the kind of thing that was triggering for me had to do with food. For a very, very long time, food was a big, big button for me coming out of Scientology and the Sea Org. Because I got to be off base a lot in the later years of the Sea Org, but that was after 3 years of the RPF. And 8 years before that of Sea Org nonsense, and a lot of really shitty food, especially breakfasts. Breakfasts were pretty much ruined for me in the Sea Org, almost uniformly, except for the Sunday meals, where we actually got some pancakes or some French toast every now and again. Runny cold eggs was the usual sort of breakfast, unless you could get there right when they were bringing the pans of eggs up from the galley. And that really kind of ruined eggs and food for me for a long, long time. Not just the breakfast, though, the other food, too, to the point where for years, I mean, this is going to sound silly. I feel it's silly looking back on it, but at the same time, it was real. I mean, this was my life. I daydreamed about food. I used to daydream about steak dinners. And now I can have steak anytime I want, and I do. And I know how to make it, and I'm quite good at it. I love cooking, and especially I love cooking meat. And but this is the fulfillment of all these daydreams I used to have as a Sea Org member, where I would literally be, having to eat my cold eggs or reheat them in the microwave or whatever, or spend my valuable $20 on some snackage out of the canteen because that was the only way I could have any sustenance. This went on for years. This is not some walk in the park sort of thing. And so food kind of became the symbol for me of the good life. I used to think, how could these rich people, how could these people outside in the real world ever be upset? Look at the food they get to eat. I like I said, I know that sounds ridiculous, and even to my ears right now, it sounds a little ridiculous. But that's the way I used to think. Is I was so deprived of even the most basic pleasantries of life that those were the subjects of my daydreams and my fantasies, and so when I got out of the Sea Org and I got to finally just eat whatever the hell I wanted, whenever the hell I wanted, if I could just go buy it, right? It was just big heaven. It was wonderful. And of course, I've since learned to cook and spent a lot more time on that and have a great time with it. So, yeah, so that was hard. That was a hard thing to experience and then the freedom of realizing that I didn't have to live that way anymore and stuff. That was kind of fun. The other thing that was triggering for me after leaving the Sea Org, and this is real. These are small things, okay, but sometimes it's the little things. Was wearing a tie. I wore a tie every single day, 7 days a week, for years. Years. Actually, I think other than the break of the RPF, it was every day and a day off. If I had a day off or during the time that I was on the RPF, those were the only times when I wasn't, in uniform every single day wearing a shirt and tie. And the collars and the ties and everything. After I got out of the Sea Org, I think I've had a tie on once or twice. Ties are still a little triggering for me. I know it's ridiculous, but it is true. I don't like them. That's why you see me wearing t-shirts all the time or collared open V-necks, is because I don't like collared button-up shirts. I've got some, and if I need to dress to impress, I can do that. But I choose not to, and that's why you see me wear all these silly t-shirts. So there you go.